This is Philip Dorian at Magic Jesus. Please support the channel on Patreon or at least subscribe. YouTube.com/C/Magic Jesus. I don't normally watch a lot of the webcasts, the so-called history shows. History simply isn't my primary focus. I'm not against historians. I'm not trying to belittle the findings or the person when I talk about what historians have wrong in my view. I'm simply trying to clarify what has remained a very, very dodgy issue, that of biblical interpretation or Josephine interpretation in this case. Tim Mill's webcast, The Harmonic Atheist, has a video out, and the guest is Dr. Steve Mason, and the title is Josephus on Jesus and the Testimonium Flavianum. Now, my understanding of the Testimonium is that it's from about 1100. Now, perhaps it is from earlier. Mr. Mason seems to think so. But I'm not here to debate that, except that we have no idea who Josephus is, okay? And the people he says he is, he couldn't have been. Okay, that's one of the problems. You don't just waltz in and out of these cults like the Essenes. Okay, to join the Essenes, you had to give everything you owned. All right, stuff like that. So Joseph Atwell has done a good job of pointing out some of the holes in the scholars' arguments. What he has never shown an interest in is parallel naming, and that's a method that I use all the time. If I see Hypatia of Alexandria, I think of Jupiter, that instead of an actual person named Hypatia there might have been a female first mathematician there. That I don't have a problem with that. But they're apparently calling her Hypatia, which makes that a parallel name to Jupiter, as you can perhaps see as I bring some of this stuff out. I responded to Tim Mills, and I'm just saying that asking the question, this is a medieval document laying claim to first century history, because what could go wrong with an idea like that, right? You have to wonder which Josephus author wrote what part, especially after donating all his wealth to become an Essene, then leaving the cult. All of this highly unlikely. Okay, but if Josephus were Jupiter, and he was using Josephus as a parallel name for Jupiter as something of a joke, but also a tip-off to the informed reader, then people would realize they were looking at allegory. At least the ancient Romans would. We might also speculate that a lot of the educated Romans didn't really believe in Jupiter, but they loved the myths of Jupiter and that sort of stuff, and they learned how to write them themselves. If Josephus were Jupiter, he might have actually arranged everything he claims to, because he would be the god in charge of everything. And his own capture at Yatapata. Okay, this is spelled Gotapata, and it is referencing a town called Yadfat. Okay, so to turn it into Yatapata is to get about as close to Jupiter as you can without saying Jupiter. Now, I pointed this out to Mr. Atwell in one of my better interviews on his book, Caesar's Messiah. Now, when you can't see or hear puns, you get falsely historicized results. This is my problem with the historiographers. There are webcasts that do this all the time. They bring on all the right experts, all the right credentials, all the popular authors, but no one ever notices that Jupiter writes Roman history under his parallel name, Josephus. Dr. Price, Robert M. Price, the Bible geek, usually doesn't believe in that sort of thing, and so he never uses parallel naming as an inductive method the way I do. So he doesn't get the results I do. When you do, you begin to get a different idea than what Dr. Price is portraying, for instance. Though I have a lot of respect for his work and have studied him many years. So I'm not coming out and bashing anybody here. I don't want anyone to say that, because that's not clearly not happening. But all the skeptics lose the satire. Their skepticism is misled by experts who can't read between the lines. They fail to grasp works like Apuleius's Metamorphoses, known as the Golden Ass, or Proteus Peregrinus's great satire on mystery cults. There are a number of these, and so these are satires. Apuleius, Golden Ass, great reading, very long. Proteus Peregrinus is more digestible, but at least Mr. Atwill gets the satire, and he estimates that there were at least four Josephine authors. Zeus Jupiter didn't write any histories in reality, but his followers did write a lot of satire. Tales of Jesus, Judas, and Peter. These are all my Zeuses, they're all my Jupiters, see? Because I know more about them, having looked into what their names mean. Jesus is a paronym of Zeus. Jesus is Zeus. Judas is Dios, who is another Zeus, the Hindu Zeus, or half of the name Dios Peter, which Zeus also is. And then we have Peter, Peter himself, the rock. Oh, the rock of Zeus was a very, very famous thing. Cronus swallowed a rock instead of Zeus. Imagine that. Imagine his surprise when he was full. Petrus is the rock spit out by Cronus and carved into a pope by the New Testament. Try getting the irony in this. Yodfat is not Yatapata, but is employed as a pun on Jupiter / Josephus. You can think that experts for the Jewish war have no clear evidence, and you would be right. The Trojans had the same type of war, a literary tradition penned by one or more unknowable authors that got grouped together under the name Homer. Now, Apion gets mentioned in this. And Apion, that he mentions that may be the only thing Josephus really ever wrote. That's true. I agree that could be, or perhaps the antiquities of the Jews. Perhaps there was a real Josephus and he really wrote that back then. I don't know. There always could be a real Josephus, even if he is pretending to be Jupiter. Okay, so Hypatia is a real getaway as Jupiter. And so she's the daughter of Theon, okay? And who's Theon? But he's Theos, he's Zeus, all right? Head of the Homeric Grammar School at Alexandria, historical character. When he died, we're hearing that Apion succeeded him in the position, preferring, however, the fanciful etymological method of Didymus. Who's Didymus? That's Apollo Didymus, okay? He's the twin. And we get Thomas named 3 times, the twin, in the Bible. Thomas, Didymus, which means twin, the twin, which also means twin. Okay, so that etymological method of Didymus and the allegorical one of Crates, which, or Apion, excuse me, prefers to the traditional system of Aristarchus. It's called allegory. Okay, so just try getting a clue, and you're a satire reader at that point. But you realize you're reading satire and not history. So I've given you several right clues on here about this, and advice on how to read between the lines with these authors. And so I hope you're getting some of this. I'm going to go ahead and list this video, and you can check it out for yourself if you want to see if I'm reporting faithfully on it or not. And you can come check out the coming videos from Magic Jesus. And we're going to show how the Romans had infiltrated the Jews so much, understood their system so well, that they created a religion out of what was satire to begin with. Now, that may sound far-fetched. Well, the Bible is very, very far-fetched, especially the New Testament. And we all like to think, well, but there was an original Jewish group that they somehow co-opted the teachings of. Well, there may have been, but no one's ever proven that. So you have all these experts and very, very little proof for anything that can be called conclusive proof that's actually written in the Bible. So we have these long debates about Josephus and stuff like this. Most of it is just making the same circle yet again, and they're going to miss the fact that their leg is being pulled. So thanks for supporting Magic Jesus. Have a nice day.